All right, in this episode, we talk about the bench press.
Does it increase or decrease pitching velocity?
All right, Brent Porcio, Stephen Godine at the @TopVelocity hashtag Pitch and Tips show, where you go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and @TopVelocity hashtag Pitch and Tips. You ask your question on anything on pitching, anything we do here at Top Velocity, anything about our programs if you like, and we will answer it right here on the show. What's the question for today?
Larry Fisherman asks, does benching too much decrease pitching velocity? If not, should pitchers be using a bar or dumbbells when benching?
I love this question because there's a big, there's a lot of advocates against benching for pitchers, only because the scap is locked down and the humerus is flexed not independently of the scap. And when we pitch, there has to be scapular function. Here's the thing, let's clarify this. I hope this puts this issue to bed, and then I'll go into how it works for velocity. When we throw, okay, the serratus, these are the muscles in the rib, the 6th rib and the 8th rib, those actually pull the scap around or protract the scap. And also the abduction helps upwardly rotate, which clears the acromial space, gives us room to where we don't impinge the rotator cuff, okay? But when we go up into that position, okay, usually comes from a shoulders closed. So as we come up, our shoulders are typically rotating faster than our elbow, and it's creating a little horizontal abduction or a load in a horizontal position. What's horizontal abduction? That's the elbow going behind the back. And that engages the horizontal flexors, which is the anterior deltoid, and the pectoralis major, which is isolated in the bench press. Also, the triceps are isolated in the bench press, which helps release the arm into extension before pitch release. So if we're looking at the benefits of benching, it's going to hit the pecs and the triceps, which are key accelerators in the pitching delivery. And at the same time, if you're training another or you're doing another exercise like push-up plus to train the serratus muscles, and you're building good trap strength, you should have healthy scaps that are functioning, but you do have movements in the horizontal movements where the elbow goes back and then the elbow goes forward, where the humerus is moving independent of the scap, just like in a bench press. So to me, I don't understand the argument of we can't train the humerus to flex independent of the scaps, when that's actually what we do when we pitch. And at the same time too, if we're gonna receive, say I'm pitching this way, if I hit front foot, my shoulders are closed, and I'm gonna pull the elbow back because I'm gonna receive this torque behind my back, which typically studies show high velocity pitchers get more horizontal abduction. If I'm gonna receive this torque behind the back, and it's all gonna come into my anterior deltoid and my pectoralis major as it abducts back and cocks up, I need to have enough strength in this position. What does this look like? Bench press, to be able to handle the torques. If I want to throw 95, to be able to handle the torques at 95 so my arm doesn't rip off, right? Or I actually will, my body will actually want to throw 95 miles an hour. And if we want a strength reserve, meaning every throw we don't want to be 100% of our maximum strength because we're going to wear out quickly and we're going to be closer to injury, I want to be at like 60% of my maximum strength. Then we're gonna have to build some really strong pectoralis major, anterior deltoid strength, and even tricep strength to be able to handle those loads and not exhaust ourselves after 3 loads. So what allows us to build a big strength reserve in the pectoralis major, anterior delt is going to be a bench press, because we can actually load a lot of weight. Now, of course, we're gonna build up to that. And of course, if I'm a little weak chest and I throw all this weight in that horizontal position, that abducted horizontally position, yeah, I can damage it because I'm really bending back, putting a lot of pressure on the shoulder joint that could cause that. But so it still needs to be progressed effectively and not making big jumps in your strength development in your bench press, but we do need to build a high level of strength there so we can handle the torques in that position of a 95-mile-an-hour fastball. So I don't really understand why bench press is so bad. Yes, our humerus flexes around our scaps independently. And no, our arms are put in those same positions if we're a high velocity pitcher. So no better way is a bench press to building the strength in those muscles to handle the torques at a high level of, say, 95 miles an hour. Now, is that the only exercise we're doing in the upper body? No. I think the argument is like that's the only exercise. Like, because it doesn't build scapular function, then we shouldn't do it. Well, squatting or running long distance doesn't strengthen my flexor mass, but we still want to do that. So it's like your argument's not working in anything else you train.
Not running long distance.
Well, I'm just saying, if a coach is going to be like, well, you know, you're not going to do bench press because, you know, it doesn't train scapular function. Well, neither does if he says go out and run long distance. Does that train scapular function? We don't run long distance. I'm just saying typically that's the same coach is going to tell you to go run long distance, right? Either way, if he says go squat, well, squatting doesn't train scapular function either. So yeah, bench press isn't training it unless you get into the end of the bench press and you go into a push-up plus or a press plus. That will actually train the scapular function. But if not, we still need to build that pectoralis and anterior strength as we go into that horizontal abduction to be able to handle the loads of a high velocity pitch. And then we're gonna go additionally and do exercises to build the scapular function on top of that. And yes, that is highly beneficial. Now, therefore, with that understanding, yes, it increases velocity. Because like I said, it gives us a strength reserve in those positions, in those muscles to be able to handle more torques and generate more velocity. But hey, because I have a big chest from bench pressing, does that mean I should throw 95? No, it's just one piece of the puzzle. You still gotta learn to separate and load the damn arm. That's not the only thing. Let's stop thinking it's just one thing. And because I said one thing, do I think it's one thing? No, it's always a piece of the puzzle. So it's not gonna decrease pitching velocity if you have a fusion of other training to go with it. Yeah, it might decrease pitching velocity if that's all you're doing and you don't know how to throw technically well. Of course, it might decrease your pitching velocity. But the other one is, I trained with Dan Maselli, 14-year major leaguer. And the reason I picked Dan Maselli out is because he was 6 foot through about mid-90s, and he would bench press over 400 pounds every offseason as I would spot him. So I watched a big leaguer do it for years and benefit a lot from it. That right there showed me it worked. Did it to myself. I do it with David Ardsma. Like I said, it's a piece of the puzzle, and it's very beneficial for the purposes of what I was talking about and the technical aspects of throwing.
I was just gonna say, I think a lot of guys think that, like, well, just a lot of people are just told that, like, bench pressing heavy is gonna mess up their shoulders. So, like,
it will mess up your shoulders if you jump into it. If you're like, yeah, I did 10 reps of the bar yesterday, let me try 35s. Boom, boom. Oh, crap. Or here's another case, and this is why you need to come in to like a camp here so we can fully evaluate you. If you have poor horizontal abduction, meaning like if you go up to a wall and you put your elbow and forearm to a wall and you lean to it to stretch your elbow behind your back and it doesn't move, then you don't have a lot of mobility there. So if you're gonna try to go deep into that range, you might strain it or go past what it can handle. So yeah, if you're that guy that can't go deep, you're like stuck here and you're trying to go deep, yeah, you might strain it. So you also need to know your mobility. So you might not be able to go all the way. So I tell guys to go down until it gets tight. If you feel like, yeah, that's as far as it's going, then you go back up, okay? It might go lower each time. But yeah, if you're pushing way past what your body's anatomy can do, your mobility, yeah, that could hurt you too. But that could happen in a squat, that could happen in an arm curl, in a shoulder team. I mean, of course, you're not using the loads. When you're using the loads, you gotta be careful. Yes, we can hurt ourselves. So you gotta know what you're doing. You need an evaluation to understand how your body moves, where it can move. But no, you wanna, it's like telling a guy, you can't put, 200 pounds on your chest in that abducted position But yes, you can go out there and try to throw 95 miles an hour in that same abducted position, and you think that the second one's not going to hurt you, but the first one will. That's ridiculous. So, a lot of guys think, well, I don't want to put myself in these stressful positions in the weight room, but I'm going to go in the field and put myself in those stressful positions. Well, why do you think more injuries happen on the field? Because more guys are willing to do it on the field than in the weight room, right? So you got to know, in the case of the bench press, how far back you can go. Then you got to slowly build your strength up. Start off slow, baby steps, build it up, but go as high as you can, because then you have a more power reserve to handle the 95 mile an hour torques that you want to handle in that arm once you learn everything else that you have to do to get to that place.
Yeah, I always hear guys always talking about too, like, I think it's funny, they'll be like, for pitching, dude, all you need legs and core, man, like that's it. And it's like, yeah, legs and core are extremely important, like don't get me wrong, but you have to think of it as like, it's a full body movement. Like you're using everything to throw at a high velocity. So if you have legs and core like really strong, you have a terribly weak upper half, you're just putting yourself at a huge risk of injury. So it's like, bench press is one of the best ways to build upper body strength. And if you're doing it right, like Brent says, like we're using good technique and you're not like trying to do too much weight and trying to get yourself in bad positions, and you're gonna hurt yourself if you do that. But if you're doing it and you start building strength over time, it's one of the best ways to strengthen the upper body, and that's gonna go a long way for keeping your arms safe when you're throwing, when you're getting yourself into those positions and putting that load on your arm, if you have a lot of strength there to hold everything together and keep it tight. So it's a puzzle, like we always say, it's a puzzle, and it's a whole body movement. So you have to have everything strong. You can't just be like, hey, legs and core, like that's it, that's all I need. It has to be everything.
Right, what's gonna happen, just like Steven said, what's gonna happen when you got the 95 mile an hour back leg drive into the 95 mile an hour front leg drive, into the 95 mile an hour hip to shoulder delay, and then that 95 mile an hour load just hits your arm right here, and you can't bench press 135 pounds, or you don't have the strength to press 135 pounds. What's gonna happen when it hits your arm? Your arm's gonna be like, I don't wanna get in there, I don't want that, all right? So it's never going to finish what you're building. Of course, build the legs and core, but it has to eventually get here to get out of your hand, okay? So yeah, you're like, well, look at these guys that throw very hard. They don't bench a lot of weight. Yeah, well, genetically, they got a lot of strength in those joints. They can handle it, and they can handle it through full ranges. So maybe, mainly they go into a lot of abduction. They don't have to put as much torques that you're putting up there because they got a lot of trunk mobility to pick up those speeds, or wherever else they can put it to reduce the load in the arm. But the point is if I'm trying to optimize my ball speed and I'm sitting at 85, I'm gonna go to every piece of the puzzle and I'm gonna try to optimize it. I'm gonna optimize the legs. Back leg, front leg, hips, core, trunk movements, then the arm movements, the torques the arm can handle. And like I said, it's each piece. Maybe I get to the end and I just have to build just decent strength. But the point is there shouldn't be you can't do bench press. It makes no sense. You just have to know how to technically do it correct, and it should only help you. It shouldn't hurt you if you know what you're doing, you know what you can handle, and you know the end result is very similar to what you're gonna do in the bench press. You're gonna try to put a lot of torque in your arm in that horizontal position, which is the same thing we're doing in the weight room with the bench press. Yeah. All right, so that's a good question. We get that one a lot. I would love anyone to post a comment on this if you like that I'm missing something in any way. I would like to see that. I personally have done it for a while, but that's not a reason to do it. If you want more science on this, I'll give you more science on it. There is a lot of studies out there that actual show in a training program that use bench press at increased pitching velocity, and I'd be glad to post that up for you here. And it's all learning. So share the information if you have it. Go to if you want to ask a question, go to Twitter, go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at TopVelocity, #pitching tips, ask your question, and we'll answer it on the next episode.
Boys.